Hey everyone, welcome back to Nomigo channel. Today is February 23rd, 2026, and the AI world has been absolutely packed with breakthroughs, controversy, and some really clever open source tools. From Google trying to make large language models think smarter, not longer, to AI agents getting safer, cheaper ways to browse the web, to autonomous delivery cars roaming Chinese cities, and even a potential adult mode in ChatGPT, there's a lot to unpack. Let's get into this week's AI news roundup. First up, a big one in core AI research. News number one comes from MarkTech Post AI News, published February 22nd, 2026. The article is titled, "A new Google AI research proposes deep thinking ratio to improve LLM accuracy while cutting total inference costs by half." For years, the rule of thumb has been, if you want better reasoning from a large language model, you give it a longer chain of thought, basically. You force it to think out loud in more steps. But this new research from Google and the University of Virginia is challenging that assumption. The idea is that thinking long isn't the same as thinking hard. Instead of just making every answer longer, they introduced something called a deep thinking ratio. You can think of it as a smarter way of deciding when the model should really dig in and reason step by step, and when it can safely take a shortcut. So instead of every query triggering a huge chain of thought, which is expensive and slow, only the genuinely hard questions get that treatment. According to MarkTech Post's summary, they're able to improve accuracy while cutting total inference costs by around half. That's a big deal for both researchers and companies running LLMs at scale. Better answers, less compute, and lower bills. Keep this in mind as a theme for today, making AI more efficient and more targeted. You're going to hear that same idea again in other tools we'll cover. Alright, shifting from virtual brains to real-world wheels. News number 2 comes from Unwire HK, published February 22nd, 2026. And the article is titled in Chinese, about China's autonomous delivery vehicles. 中國無人配送車突破1億公里，與100個城市開放路權，成本下降推動技術. Translated and summarized, here's what's going on. In China, unmanned delivery cars, those small autonomous vehicles you see shuttling parcels and food, have quietly become part of everyday city life. According to Unwire HK, by the end of 2024, these vehicles had collectively driven over 100 million kilometers on public roads. More than 100 cities in China have now granted road access or some form of regulatory approval for these delivery robots. As deployment has scaled up, costs have been dropping, which in turn accelerates the technology and makes the business case more compelling. One of the major players mentioned in coverage of this space is Neolix, which has been pushing autonomous delivery at scale. The big picture: AI isn't just living in your browser tab anymore. It's literally rolling down the street, delivering your groceries. And this mass real-world deployment contrasts nicely with the more infrastructure-focused AI tools we'll talk about next. Speaking of infrastructure, let's talk about AI agents and the web. News number 3 comes from Hacker News under the AI Topics feed, posted February 22nd, 2026. Its title, Show HN, OpenBrowser MCP. Give your AI agent a real efficient browser, and points to OpenBrowser to me. If you've ever tried to hook an AI agent up to a browser, you know it can be ridiculously wasteful. Most browser MCPs, these are Model Context Protocol tools, expose tons of tiny actions: click, scroll, type, extract, navigate, and every time the agent calls one of these, the entire page's accessibility tree gets dumped into the context window. One Wikipedia page can blow up to over 120,000 tokens per call. OpenBrowser MCP flips this approach. Instead of dozens of rigid tools, it exposes just one. Your AI agent writes Python code, and OpenBrowser executes it in a persistent runtime with full browser access. The agent decides what data comes back, so you avoid those massive page dumps according to their benchmarks, which they share on their site and GitHub. OpenBrowser uses about 3.2 times fewer tokens than Playwright MCP from Microsoft, about 6 times fewer tokens than Chrome DevTools MCP from Google, 144 times smaller response payloads, and they report a 100% task success rate across their test tasks. It's fully open source under the MIT license and works with any MCP compatible client, things like Cursor, VS Code, Claude Code, and more. And with pretty much any major LLM provider, including Claude, GPT 5.2, Gemini, DeepSeek, Grok, and local models via Ollama. The team behind OpenBrowser says this is the foundation for a bigger cloud-hosted agentic platform where any AI agent can browse and interact with the web without you managing the infrastructure. You can check it out at OpenBrowser Me with the link and demo details in the Hacker News post. So we've got Google working on deep thinking and OpenBrowser working on cheap thinking when it comes to web browsing. Both are about using AI's power more efficiently. Next, let's talk about something a lot of people are noticing in their everyday search results. Google's AI overviews. News number 4 comes from Wired's Artificial Intelligence section, published February 22nd, 2026. The article is titled, How to Hide Google's AI Overviews from Your Search Results. Wired explains that if you're tired of Google's AI-generated summaries, those AI overviews at the top of your search page, there are a few ways to push them out of your life, or at least out of the way. One method is to adjust your queries. For example, adding keywords like web results only, forums, or targeting specific sites can nudge Google toward traditional links instead of AI summaries. Wired also walks through using alternative search engines if you want to avoid AI summaries entirely options like DuckDuckGo, Kagi, or others that either don't use AI overviews or give you more control. The underlying theme here is AI, UX, and control. As AI gets layered into core products like search, users are starting to demand more, say, in when and how that AI steps in. We'll see a similar tension later when we talk about ChatGPT's rumored adult mode. But before that, let's turn to AI and security, which is getting more important as we hand more power to agents and tools. News number 5 is another Hacker News AI topic story posted February 22nd, 2026. It links to a blog post from Quesma titled We Hit Backdoors in 40 megabytes binaries and ask AI plus Ghidra to find them, and introduces a tool called Binary Audit. Here's the idea. The Quesma team took large, roughly 40 megabyte compiled binaries and hid backdoors inside them, malicious or suspicious logic embedded in the machine code. They then used a combination of AI and Ghidra, which is the NSA's open source reverse engineering toolkit, to see if these tools could detect the backdoors. The blog, which you can find at quesma.com and through the Hacker News link, walks through how they set this up and what Binary Audit is designed to do. Binary Audit aims to help you scan large compiled binaries for anomalies and potential backdoors using AI-assisted analysis, rather than relying entirely on manual reverse engineering. The big picture. As AI systems and agents start downloading and running more code, the security layer becomes critical. You don't just need agents that can read the web. You need tools that can say, hey, this binary might be doing something sketchy. That brings us nicely to our next set of tools, which are all about memory, safety, and what your hardware can actually handle. News number 6, again, comes from Hacker News AI Topics, posted February 22nd, 2026. Show HN, Aethene, open source AI memory layer, with a repo at github.com/akilponada/Aethene. The creator explains that when building AI agents, they kept running into the same problem. Agents forget everything. Every new conversation starts from scratch. Aethene is an open source memory layer that sits on top of your agents and takes care of all the boring but essential memory work. It does things like automatically extracting structured facts from conversations instead of just storing raw text, handling contradictions, like updating user lives in SF to user lives in NYC without keeping both as true, letting you search by meaning rather than just keywords, using vector search, versioning everything who said what, when. Under the hood, it uses TypeScript with Hono, Convex for real-time database plus vector search, and Google's Gemini for embeddings and extraction. The API lets you store content, then recall it naturally with semantic queries. It also includes logic for chunking, deduplication, contradiction detection, and versioning. In other words, Aethene is trying to give agents long-term, consistent memory in a way that's actually usable in production. The source and OpenAPI docs are on GitHub under the Aethene repo. Then, news number 7, also from Hacker News AI Topics. On February 22nd, 2026, is a small but extremely practical tool. A tool to tell you what LLMs can run on your machine, hosted at github.com/alexisjones/LLMfit. The idea is simple. Instead of guessing whether your laptop or desktop can handle a specific model, like can I run this 14B parameter model locally, LLMfit analyzes your hardware and tells you what models are realistic. It helps you match your CPU, GPU, and RAM to appropriate model sizes and variants. This is especially relevant as more people experiment with local models and quantized version. Tools like LLMfit bridge the gap between the marketing claims of runs on your laptop and the reality of your actual hardware. And then we have news number 8, again from Hacker News AI Topics, posted February 22nd, 2026. Show HN the only CLI your AI agent will need, introducing a project called Earl at github.com/brwse/Earl. This one hits right at the heart of AI safety for autonomous coding agents. The author points to a worrying trend. Some tools are telling people that it's fine to expose credentials to agents as long as they're in environment variables, and giving agents basically raw shell and network access. Earl is designed as an AI-safe CLI for LLM agents. Instead of handing the agent full dangerous control, Earl uses template-driven calls. So commands are constrained and auditable, stores secrets in the operating system keychain instead of environment variables, blocks SSRF and access to private IP ranges, reducing the risk of internal network attacks. Supports egress allow-less, so you can specify exactly where the agent is allowed to connect sandboxes, Bash, JavaScript, and SQL execution. On top of that, Earl runs as an MCP server, so agents that support the Model Context Protocol can use these controls natively. You still get powerful automation, but wrapped in guardrails that are designed with security in mind. So if we connect the dots so far, Questmar's binary audit is about securing binaries. Aethene is about securing and structuring memory. LLMfit is about making sure you don't overload your machine. And Earl is about making shell and network access safer for AI agents. The ecosystem is maturing from just make it work to make it safe, efficient, and maintainable. Now, let's jump to something a bit more controversial. Adult content in AI chatbots. News number 9 comes from Unwire, HK, published February 22nd, 2026, with the article titled ChatGPT 成人模式代号曝光程式码出现 Citron 代号 her 18 plus dingo. According to Unwire HK, a developer named Thibaut Blaho discovered references in the web version of ChatGPT's code to a string saying Citron mode enabled. The report suggests that Citron is an internal codename for a potential adult mode in ChatGPT. The code also appears to include logic for 18 plus warnings. If you share a conversation that contains sensitive or adult content, the recipient would see a warning and have to confirm they're 18 or older before viewing it. This lines up with earlier comments from OpenAI leadership, hinting that some kind of adult or more permissive mode could roll out in Q1 of 2026. Now, to be clear, this is based on code hints, not an official public release yet. But if accurate, it signals that OpenAI is actively working on more granular content modes, potentially separating general-purpose ChatGPT from an 18-plus version with different safety constraints and sharing rules. This ties back to that Wired article on hiding AI overviews. Users are increasingly demanding control, whether it's don't show me AI summaries or let me choose what kind of content my AI can produce. We're moving toward a world where AI systems aren't just one-size-fits-all. They're configurable along ethical, legal, and personal preference lines. Finally, let's zoom all the way out to space. News number 10 comes from CNET Tech News in video form, published February 22nd, 2026. The video is titled, How Starlink and AI Are Fueling the Space Junk Crisis. CNET explains that SpaceX's Starlink constellation, already massive, is about to get even bigger. According to the video, SpaceX received approval from the FCC under the Trump-era Commission decisions to roughly double the number of satellites it can deploy in low Earth orbit, and to place them closer to Earth than before. AI comes into play in two ways. First, Starlink and similar constellations use AI-driven systems to manage satellite operations, optimize coverage, and handle collision avoidance. When you've got tens of thousands of satellites in orbit, you need automation and intelligent systems to keep track of everything. Second, the same AI that helps avoid collisions is also dealing with a problem it's helping create space junk. More satellites mean more potential debris from failed launches, decommissioned hardware, and accidental collisions. CNET's video explores how AI is being used for tracking debris, predicting potential collisions, and planning maneuvers, but also raises the concern that rapidly scaling up these constellations is accelerating the space junk crisis overall. So, on Earth, we have autonomous delivery cars and AI agents crawling the web. And above us, we have AI quietly managing swarms of satellites and an increasingly crowded orbital environment. To wrap this all up, from Google and the University of Virginia's Deep Thinking Ratio research reported by MarkTech Post on February 22nd to OpenBrowser MCP's efficient web browsing for agents shared on Hacker News, we're seeing a big push toward smarter, more efficient AI reasoning. Tools like Aethene, LLMFit, Earl, and Quesma's binary audit also highlighted via Hacker News, and Quesma's own blog on February 22nd are about making AI agents practical and safe, giving them memory, fitting them to your hardware, constraining their power, and checking the code they touch. On the consumer and societal side, Wired's guide to hiding Google's AI overviews on Wire HK's reports on China's 100 million kilometer autonomous delivery fleets and ChatGPT's rumored Citron adult mode and CNET's video on Starlink AI and the space junk crisis all point to the same tension. AI is everywhere now, on your streets, in your search results, in orbit, and we're collectively figuring out how much of it we want, under what rules, and at what cost. If you want to dive deeper, you can check out all the original sources. MarkTech Post, AI News for the Google Deep Thinking Ratio research. On Wire HK for both the Chinese autonomous delivery story and the ChatGPT Citron mode leak. The OpenBrowser, Aethene, LLMFit, Earl, and Binary Audit posts via Hacker News and their GitHub or blog links. Wired's AI section for the Google AI Overviews Guide, and CNET Tech News for the full Starlink and AI Space Junk Explainer video. That's it for today's AI News Roundup for February 23rd, 2026. If you like staying on top of how AI is evolving from low-level research and open source tools to global infrastructure and policy, make sure you're subscribed and let me know in the comments which of these stories you think will have the biggest impact over the next year. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.